Good morning, students. Today we will study a fine sonnet by William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare is a well known name. He was a well known playwright and poet of Elizabethan age. He was born in 1564 at Stratford upon Avon in Warwickshire, and his life continued to till 1616. He died in 1616. About the poem, Sonnet 18, titled as Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, is one of the best known in Shakespeare, in the sequence of Shakespeare's sonnet. It is the first poem among the sonnets which explicitly does not encourage the fair youth to marry and have children, and the first rhyme to pay tribute to the beauty. The poet relies on his poetic powers to immortalize the qualities of the fair youth. The poem is a statement of praise about the beauty of the fair youth, who is more lovely and temperate than a summer's day. It is a typical Shakespearean sonnet considering of three quatrains followed by a couplet. It has rhyme scheme ABAB, CDCD, EFEF, GG. There is a shift in the poet's subject matter beginning with the third quatrain. The poem is remarkable for its simplicity and loveliness. Now let's go through the poem stanza wise. I shall read the poem. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes toward the eyes of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion deemed, and every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death break thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. A very fine sonnet. In this sonnet, the poet praises the beauty of fair youth to a summer's day. It is devoted to his friend, the king, the Earl of Southampton. Stanza wise, we will go through now, and explanation we will see. The first stanza. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a day. In these lines, the poet compares the beauty of his friend to a summer's day. He says that his friend is more beautiful than the summer's day because because the beauty of the summer is deemed through natural changes. He says, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thee means you. He says to his friend that shall he compare him to the beauty of a summer's day? And he says that his friend is more beautiful, more lovely, and more temperate. Rough winds do shake. He says that sometimes rough winds disturb the beauty of the summer. In the darling buds of May, May is the month in the summer when buds, when trees, when plants are full of beautiful leaves. But sometimes this beauty is deemed spoiled by rough winds. Rough wind shake these lovely leaves, these lovely buds, and the beauty is spoiled. And moreover, summer's lease means durations. The duration of this beautiful summer is of short duration. With the change of nature, with the change of seasons, summer is then followed by another season, and that is not that beautiful. So the poet says that his friend is more beautiful than summer's day. Second stanza. Sometimes toward the eyes of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. He continues comparing the beauty of his friend to the summer's day. He wants to clarify that beauty of summer's day is disturbed by the changing nature. He says during the summer sometimes the sun is more hot, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. Sometimes the sun shines with intensity, or the shine of sun intensifies, and sometimes the clouds come and the intensity of the shine of sun is dimmed. In these both processes, the beauty of summer's day is disturbed. But the beauty of his friend is never diminished. So he says that the beauty of summer's day is disturbed, is deemed, is diminished by chance or by the change of course in nature. But the beauty of his friend is never diminished. Next stanza. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death break thou wanderest in its shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. In these lines, the poet says that the summer in the nature is not eternal, that is, not permanent, but the summer, the beauty of poet's friend is eternal, and his friend never lose his beauty, although everything in nature they lose their beauty with the passage of time. Even everything is subject to decline and death, but death cannot do anything with the beauty of the poet's friend. Why? Because the poet's friend is beautiful, and his beauty is projected in the lines of the poem of the poet. The lines will remain, the beauty of poetry will remain, and there the beauty of poet's friend will also remain. And he will, in this way, the poet's friend is not subjected to death. In the couplet, he says, so long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. The poet says that so long the poem, this poem stands. The poet's friend's beauty will also stand, and the time the eyes can see, the poetry will remain, and in this way, that will give life to poets this sonnet, and in this way, in turn, the life is given to the beauty of the poet's friend, and his beauty will remain eternal. Actually, what he wants to say, he wants to emphasize that art and literature are permanent, and the things mentioned there will also remain beautiful and permanent, where everything in nature is temporary, that is subject to decay with the changing course of time or nature. So, in this way, the poet has praised the beauty of his friend. Now, let's go through some of the textual questions. Who is the referred in the first line of the poem? In the first line of the poem, the is referred to the poet's friend, the Earl of Southampton. Who is the compared to? The is compared to a summer's day. The poet has compared the beauty of his friend to the beauty of a summer's day. What does the poet say about the month of May? The poet says that the month of May is very beautiful, and since it is the summer season, everything in nature is full of life, is full of beauty, and full of charm. How does the poet eulogize eternal summer? The summer in nature is subject to change. The beauty of summer in nature is disturbed sometime by the rough winds or by sometime with the excessive shining of sun, or sometime it is dimmed by the clouds. But the summer of the poet's friend, the summer of the beauty of poet's friend is eternal, because the poet has mentioned the beauty of his friend in his poem. His poem will stand. In this way, the beauty of his friend will also stand, and in this way, the summer of beauty is eternal. The summer of beauty of his friend is eternal. How does the poet compare eternity with mortality? Yes, in this fine sonnet, the poet has compared well the concept of eternity with mortality. Everything in this natural world, everything in this nature is subject to decay and death. But, and it's mortal. Everything in the nature is mortal. Everything is subject to death and decay, but everything in art and poetry that is eternal. So, the beauty in art, the beauty in poetry will remain ever, forever, and hence it is eternal. How does the poet talk about death? The poet mentions that everything in this living world is subject to death. It comes in the limit, in the death encompasses everything. But in art and poetry, death cannot do anything with art and poetry. Art and poetry is eternal. So, the beauty of poet's friend, as mentioned in the poem, is eternal and it is not subject to death. Sum up the idea of beauty as talked about in the poem. The poet has praised the beauty of summer, the beauty of a summer's day. In summer, everything is beautiful. The plants are full of lovely buds and flowers, and everything is beautiful. So, in the summer season, everything is beautiful, charming, and fascinating. What is a sonnet? How does Shakespeare use other poetic devices in this poem? A sonnet is a poem of 14 lines with a rhyme scheme. Sonnets are of two types: Elizabethan sonnets and Shakespearean sonnets. No, let's Italian or Petrarchan sonnet or English or Shakespearean sonnet. Sonnets are of two types: Italian or Petrarchan sonnet, English or Shakespearean sonnets. Italian or Petrarchan sonnet is divided into two parts: an octave, the first 8 lines of the poem, having a rhyme scheme of ABBA, ABBA, and a sestet, the final 6 lines, following a rhyme scheme of CDE, CDE, O, CD, CD, CD. Whereas the English or Shakespearean sonnet is made up of 3 quatrains, 4 line stanzas ending with a couplet. The rhyme scheme most usually followed is ABAB, CD, EF, GG. The quatrain usually propose and explore an idea that the concluding couplet most often refutes, or the couplet puts a different spin on it. Hence, this concluding couplet is also known as a volta or turn of idea. Shakespearean sonnet is usually written in iambic pentameter. Shakespeare has used various poetic devices. For example, he has personified sun. He says that sometimes toward the eyes of heaven shine. So the eyes of heaven are meant for sun, and here he has personified the eyes of heaven. He has personified the sun. It is presumed that rather than immortalizing his king, the poet strives to establish his own credential. Comment on this. Yes, a very fine question. Although in this fine sonnet the poet has praised the beauty of his friend, and he has compared the beauty of his friend to a summer's day. Although the whole poem is devoted in praise of his friend, but indirectly he is immortalizing himself because he says that till the time his poetry will remain, the beauty of his friend will also remain. Till the time his poetry will remain, his friend will also remain alive. And in turn, Shakespeare will also be remembered. Shakespeare will also be living with his poetry. So, by writing this sonnet and by praising his friend, actually he is doing, he is killing two birds with a single stone. He is fulfilling two purposes. First, he is praising his friend's beauty, as is evident in this poem. But the second and more important purpose underlying is that he is eternalizing himself because his poetry will remain eternal, and Shakespeare in this way also will be immortalized. Next, Shakespeare in this poem compares permanence and transience. Comment on this assessment of the poem. Yes, fine question. In this poem, Shakespeare compares permanence and transience. Everything in nature, everything in living world is temporary, is subject to decline. Everything that takes birth, grows, comes to the youth, attains youth, and then starts declining, and further decay results in death. So everything in nature and living world is subject to decay and death. But everything in art and literature is permanent because art will remain, literature will remain, and things projected there, things projected through art and poetry, art and literature are of permanent in nature. They will remain permanent. Shakespeare's poetry was enriching, was beautifying, was increasing, was lovely centuries ago, even today, and it will remain tomorrow. So, in this poem, he has beautifully explored the theme of permanence versus transience. So, I hope you have enjoyed the sonnet, you have understood the sonnet, and it's a very fine sonnet. Now, let's discuss some grammar, extended grammar as given here through this, and the extended grammar is non-finite verbs, but this we will take in the next lecture. So, thanks, have a nice day.